Okay, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Hope you had a great weekend. Well, it was in that weekend that we saw, a news item, and I thought we thought our viewers would probably want to comment on it. And talking about, the practice in parties. Started out in Lagos, perhaps. I don't know. People might also claim it that it's not just Lagos, but gifts at parties. We've heard of some wondrous gifts. We've heard of live goats, for example, where people were still understanding that live goats have been distributed at parties as gifts. But the one that sort of took the cake was Petrol. In these times, when thanks to NMPC, DPC, or whoever you want to mention, we still have this fuel shortage. That no doubt led a celebrant, a friend of mine called it a celebrator. He said he learned a new word. But the celebrant apparently, also organized to distribute 5 liters of fuel. I don't know. Let me not be particular about that. A quantity of fuel in kegs, but the kegs weren't full. So the pictures on social media, you could see that they were just about half full. The Lagos State government was livid. And Govt Amodu, the Commissioner for Information and Strategy, put out a notice that it was irresponsible and that the Lagos State government was going to, through its fire and rescue service, safety, all the safety organizations that it has at its disposal, they're going to be on the case and will not rest until they resolve the matter. Well, this morning we have Mr. Shakiru Amodu. He's the Assistant Chief Fire Officer and Head of Public Education, Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service. Good morning to you, Mr. Amodu.
Good morning, sir.
And then thank you for making time to come to us and air this whole matter. I'm imagining that because we heard about this from government first, Motosho, the Commissioner for Information, had said that it was not on at all and that it would be investigated. This kind of thing hasn't happened before?
Not at all. We don't have a record of such.
Now, what has been done so far? We again, following on social media, they say they've identified the venue, identified the celebrant. What next from there?
Well, the venue has been sealed up because the venue also compromised for their event center to be used for such unwholesome behavior. So they will be also made to answer. So the venue has been sealed up, and the management is cooperating with the government in order to get the celebrants also to answer questions. And then the police authority in the Lagos, the government as a whole is on top of this situation, okay, so that we will not have a repeat of such careless attitude.
You said the venue, by the way, the venue is
I think Avila Event Center, somewhere in Oniru in Victoria Island.
So that has been sealed off?
Yes, it has been sealed off.
But did I hear you correctly that efforts are continuing to, apprehend the word, the celebrant? Or
of
efforts
course
are continuing?
Yes, she will be made to answer questions because what she has done is to have compromised safety. Public order and safety is part of premium importance to the government. And if you look at the Lagos State government investment in that sector alone, you will know, like for instance, is the only state that has a safety commission working, and then the State Fire and Rescue Service is also the foremost, first among the equal, if there is any equal, so to say. And so many investments done in that sector, and the government will not sleep on its ass and allow an individual or group of individuals to now probably brought the state to a disrepute. Because if we were just lucky, if an emergency had happened at that place, it will not just be an emergency, it will become a disaster, because not every emergency is a disaster, but every disaster is an emergency. And you can imagine the magnitude of a disaster that will lead to in terms of the number of people who, by guessing, are over 500. There is a bandstand, a full bandstand. Everything speaks volume over there. The keg is not the appropriate keg to use. If you have to transport fuel in whatever meat, it must be in a metallic substance, which is why we say jerrycan is the only acceptable mode of probably catering for generator for fuel movement from one point to the other.
Okay.
And then it also does not follow that such will be displayed in a public gathering. That's a public assembly. And there are laws, safety laws in the state, which the celebrant and the event itself has negate. So they will be made to answer questions.
You know, what is the reason, why have you not been able to commence investigations with Erelu Chidinma Ogboru, who I understand is the Erelu Okin, and you know, somehow the event was connected with all of that. Why have you not yet been able to commence investigations with her? Why, in other words, why have you not been able to meet with her? I'm hesitating to use the word apprehend.
Yeah, the investigation is already ongoing.
No, but you say she's at large.
Not necessarily, because not necessarily because this happened, I think, on Friday, and the government moving on Saturday. So somebody who may be out of, and by so doing, I also saw from her Twitter page, I don't know that she's tendering apology. So I want to believe she's such a person that we honor the invitation of government to answer to questions in this regard. And you know, the police authority also are on it, because she has not only broken the fire safety law, she has also broken the criminal code.
Wow.
Of course, of course. You cannot.
The criminal code.
Of course, the criminal code. Also, the nature of what happened there, it's also breach for criminality, because you have to take care of your personal safety and that of any of your guests. So you don't compromise your own personal safety. That's why you see, when people want to commit suicide, they will be, if they didn't succeed, they will also be put on trial. But first of all, you know, it's their personal life. But that personal life, it's also a regard for personal safety that you must take cognizance of. So it's also the burden of government to care for every citizenry within that jurisdiction of the state.
Okay, you know, a number of important things come out of this. One, you've mentioned that you're not just the only, you know, organization in Lagos, official organization in Lagos, interested in Erelu Chidinma Ogboru. In fact, the Pearl, Erelu Pearl Chidinma Ogboru, the Erelu Okin. So, it's not just you, but other agencies are also interested. So, whose preserve is this? Well, we shouldn't be using the word apprehend, because I don't know that she's in hiding. As you say, she has apologized in social media, but whose job is it to process her?
It will be a concerted effort, in which has been transpiring since that Saturday, since when the news of the incidents broke out. And then when I mean concerted, even if we apprehend her now, we will still need to give to police to prosecute. Or in some instances, the Attorney General of the state also take up the prosecution on behalf of the state.
Because you say a law has been infringed upon.
Of course,
you know,
a law, the fire safety law has been infringed upon, the building code law has been infringed upon, the criminal act has also been infringed upon. So it's a whole lot of.
So it looks like Erelu Chidinma Ogboru has quite a bit to answer for when indeed you sit down to talk.
Of course, she however need to answer to those, but we must also not forgetting to draw out the lessons there. And the lessons there is that we all must also carry along not minding the scarcity, we know it's a challenge and it's not what will last forever. And you need to also choose between living with petrol or living without petrol.
Okay.
Because it's such a volatile substance that must not be toyed with.
I'm going to come back and speak on ask you a question on this safety aspect. Good morning, Mr. George, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to your guest.
Yes,
morning,
Mr.
sir.
Amodu.
Uncle Yori, truth must be told. With all due respect, we should be addressing the cause of this problem than addressing the effects. You all know how we came to where we are on this fuel scarcity. The government told us they were investigating more than 3 weeks ago and that the culprits will be brought to book. Where are the culprits? Where is the report of the investigation? The NNPC promised us more than 3 weeks ago that in a few days, 3 to 5 days, the fuel scarcity will end. It has not ended.
Indeed.
Nobody has been held responsible. We cannot be blaming people who are capitalizing on the rot and say to blame those that caused the rot.
Okay.
If you ask me, the government should feel indicted rather than trying to indict others. I remember, Uncle Yori, I remember Ganifa Wemi. If he were to still be on earth, he would have gone to court and defend this person that the security agencies are charging. Why is it that the security agencies cannot arrest those who are responsible for the scarcity, where millions of people are suffering? But they come to the open to be addressing somebody who took advantage of it. I'm not saying that it is right to take advantage of it, but first things should be done first.
All right, then.
We're in a democracy, and it should be allowed to be so. Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. But looking at the, quite frankly, uninspired idea of, she explained it, that it was an effort to, on social media, it was an effort to show appreciation for guests that would, in spite of the scarcity of fuel, biting scarcity of fuel, still make it over to her. This was, maybe she'll repeat it to you when the investigation proper starts. So that was her thinking, according to social media. But leaving that aside for the moment, in speaking, you said that even the containers that were seen, they were not even the right containers for fuel, because we saw plastic fuel containers. Yes. Now, that is, I thought that was an important point, because you said the preferred, or shall we say the recommended, I don't know, containers have to be metal.
Yes,
they have to be
it has to be metallic in nature.
That's a problem right there, because you probably are aware that 99% of people, I will leave 100 for those heavy metal, petrol containers, petrol. I think those are the ones properly called jerry cans.
Yes, that's the jerry can. That's the only appropriate container.
So, if you were to enforce this, if this were to be enforced, there will be a problem, because everybody buys in plastic. Some have stronger plastic, better plastics than others, but all of these are adaptations, because they came in with something else, maybe chemicals. Once they became empty, people buy them off those merchants. And now you've said to us that the only proper container with which to buy fuel for your generators is the metal containers that some people will know. I think those jerry cans, you can't have more. They're about maybe 25, 30 liters. I don't know that you go up to 50 liters, because those things will be heavy. But I just thought I'd emphasize that point, that from your perspective, as a fire professional, the law, is it the law? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes,
the law is that you should only buy fuel in metal jerry cans.
Yes, sir. That's a law, because we must take our personal safety as serious as we taking our personal life, because you can't endanger your life. Whenever you do anything that compromise safety, it means you are endangering your life. You shouldn't do that. If you need to transport fuel, which is petroleum, at any given time, you need to follow the standard transportation code. Meanwhile, if not for the precarious situation that we are, which means we have to probably transport fuel, you must also even have certification for you to do those sort of certification. You see, those tankers that moves about with it, they are certified to do so. Yeah. So you must, everything in that industry is so volatile that you must obtain certification for you to do. But because of the precarious situation, you see people go to buy in plastic kegs, and you must even not compromise your safety while you do that, because there is no appropriate way to do something that is inappropriate.
Okay, I hear you. Chief Easy, calling in from Yenagoa. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you? Uncle Yari, you are doing a very good job.
Oh, you're too kind, sir.
These issues should be looked at from 2 points, like the last caller said. Actually, from the point of the celebrant, it's very unfortunate, and that goes to tell you our value system has fallen down. Nigeria is going down the drain every day. Sorry to use that word. She would have rather offered fuel tickets to go after events to the station to get their fuel on the line, even if at the station. But bringing that fuel to the venue and it's endangering the life of others, and it's very dangerous. But more importantly, we should always tell ourselves the truth in this country. I don't know how our value system, our standards, our system of governance have degraded to a level where the government in itself have not been able to tell the citizens the truth. You know, this matter has been back and front since the adoption of the petroleum product. We have not been able to arrest or charge or dismiss or query any person that is involved in that project in the NNPC or the distributing chain. It's a sad development. And the multiplier effect is what we are seeing today. The citizens are taking it into their hands. It's not a fair thing to do. I would encourage the woman, but it's not the right direction to do. Government, as a matter of fact, should look at the critical issues that will make life governable and suitable for our people. Look, a country that started exploring oil so many years backward, and today we are spending 4 trillion on subsidy since 1989, if I'm not mistaken. We have been paying subsidy till date, and we have not thought of fixing our 4 refineries. Look at small countries around the world, the number of refineries they have. With the volume of fuel we have in this petroleum fuel we have in this country, we cannot refine our products. We cannot even build modern refineries. We can't even build new refineries. It's sad. And today the government wants to persecute an individual for doing the wrong thing. 2 wrongs don't make it right anyway, but it's not a good development. We should learn to put the value straight and make things good. Nigerians are suffering. I can imagine what people are suffering in the queue. An average business person will be in the queue for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. What time does he have to go about his business to put food on the table? Nigerians are passing through hard time, and the government is not looking about it. We're rather coming to discuss an issue that has no rank effect. It's so sad. Our value systems are fallen. I don't know where we are going to in this country. I just advise everybody to get their PVC, be ready to vote, so we can vote credible leaders that can lead this country. So it's so sad. A country that has a budget of 20 trillion and you're spending 4 trillion on subsidy.
Okay, well, thank you very much for calling in, Chief Easy. We're talking about, of course, you know, what now it's 2 viewers in a row have spoken about. It's a separate issue that I don't think you want to comment on, because they are saying that this thing didn't even start from here. There's a situation that led to this kind of behavior, and that is where we should go. Did you have any comments on that?
Just like the last caller said, that 2 wrongs don't make a right. So you can't build something on nothing. Yes, the scarcity is there, but you don't have to endanger your life in order to say you want to survive the scarcity. So that is the wrong thing, the wrong approach. We have said it times without number. Petroleum and other petrochemical products are very, very volatile. So they should be handled carefully, and there are standard ways for you to handle them if you have to do that. Like he suggested, if a fuel ticket would have been a very appropriate way to show up such appreciation to your guests, and because in the last few weeks now that we have been in this scarcity, we have upped the ante of our advocacy in order for people not to store in petroleum inappropriately.
Okay, inappropriately. In fact, we're going to come back to that. Clearly, Erelu Pearl Chidinma Ogboru, the Erelu she got it wrong a bit. Good morning, Ada in Jos.
Good morning, Good morning to your guest. It's
Yes.
Ada calling from Jos Plateau State.
Sure.
Wonder shall never end. No matter how people are talking about it, whether there's a problem with fuel scarcity, what that lady did was terrible. Something that is very volatile. We are talking about it as a joke now because the disaster did not happen. Assuming somebody smoked or something like that at the bottom of the signal. I couldn't understand it. When I saw that, I said, what is happening in Nigeria? Why are we losing our senses? You know? Even if you want to, just like one of the callers said, that's what I had in mind, either a ticket or arrange with a fuel station, a gas station that can give to our guests. You identify the guests and then they go there and be taking the fuel, you know. It's really a disaster. It's terrible. Then I want to ask your guests there. I thought they said whenever they want to have any ceremony or whatever, or celebration, they used to go and pay to the safety commission or whatever. Is it right? Am I right? That they have to pay to them, then they must have one or two.
Let me get you. Did you get her?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought I was telling one story. They said that whenever they want to do any ceremony in Lagos now, that you must go and go to the safety people and pay some money or something, and then they will give you somebody that will come to that event center and be there too.
Oh, right.
That's what I saw. You know. That's
okay.
What I heard.
Let me get his reaction. Luckily, we can get an official reaction.
Okay, she's right that you must get a safety clearance permit for you to gather people or to even hold any event. But you know, people always compromise these procedures. People always compromise it, and that's the issue that we have. Even if you have to do artwork, you have to do knockout, you have to do some artwork, you also need to get permit. There are various set of permit that you need to get in the regard of doing a safety issue.
Okay.
So you must also go through this process. But people over time have compromised this, and you know, like she said, if the disaster happens, the same everyone will say, where is the government? Where is the government in this case? So the government cannot sit back at this point in time, fold their hand and see others to tow the bad wagon. Okay,
we're speaking here with Mr. Shakiru Amodu, Assistant Chief Fire Officer and Head of Public Education, Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service. We'll take a break, a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Okay, welcome back. And, you know, something of a very strange event over the weekend at a Lagos party. Fuel was distributed as part of the gifts at that event. Erelu Pearl Chidinma Ogboru was the celebrant at the time, and we've been speaking with the Head of Education, Lagos State Fire Service, and Assistant Chief Fire Officer on the matter. He's informed us that the party venue has been sealed, and we're not too clear about that whole area about Erelu Pearl Chidinma Ogboru, who has apologized on social media. But you did say that, you know, there are a number of agencies that are interested in having a conversation with her.
Of course.
Now, what came out of all of this that I thought was news to all of us is that, did you say by law, or is it by law, you must have metal kegs? Those jerry cans, the type you see at the back of some Land Rover Jeeps, and you know, metal jerry cans.
Yes, that's the appropriate word, the jerry cans. That is by law, by the safety law, and by your personal safety.
So anybody who is buying fuel in a yellow keg, a blue keg, a black, whatever the plastic keg is actually infringing on the law.
Of course, it actually infringes. There are safe ways to transport fuel, since we can't live without fuel.
And
we need to
and
power
plastic
a
container is
generator.
not one of them.
It's not one of them. It's not one of them. And if you have to even buy even with the jerry can, you also don't need to drive about town with it. Once you buy from the point of purchase, you take it back to the point of usage. You don't need to travel over town. And you don't keep them in the boots, in the car boots. You make sure you keep them behind the driver's seat where nobody is seated. Not more than 2 can sit in a car where you want to keep such a jerry can with fuel. So you keep it in between the driver's seat and the passenger seat behind, and make sure nobody was sitting behind, and you drive straight from the point of purchase to the point of usage.
And it goes without saying that you shall not be smoking while you're driving.
Of course, definitely.
It goes without saying.
You must not compromise any safety standard.
From Oshun, Comrade Ayo, did I get that right? Good morning, sir.
Yes. Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Let me start by saying I commend the Lagos State government for taking the action they took. No reason, no matter how genuine it is, for anybody to violate the law. However, the question is, do we have category of people who can be apprehended for violating the law? Because if the officer there is saying that the standard for purchasing fuel in jerry can is
a metal jerry can.
A metal jerry can. Now, what about those guys who are hawking fuel in plastic jerry can? Who officials patronize when there is scarcity?
Okay, I get your point, comrade. I beg your pardon, because we've run out of time on this segment. I do get your point. Let me just put it to Mr. Amodu. Apparently, your men don't see these plastic jerry cans on the street where they are, advertising them to whoever wants to buy. There are a lot of yellow ones, but they come in all colors.
Of course, they come in all shades and colors, and then definitely the security agents will be looking out for such. And I know that some instances there have been raid on them and they have been arrested, but Lagosians, Nigerians, for who they will always indulge in all these acts.
Okay. Well, at least I want to thank you very much for coming on. You are totally on it. The authorities, you've explained that there's a criminal aspect to this. It infringes all sorts of safety. But did you want to, the question that Ada asked, did you want to add anything to the matter about needing to get clearance for certain events?
Of course, if you are gathering people, especially when you're gathering people up to 50, you need to get a public assemblies safety clearance for such, which is by standard. That is what.
So it's not just paying the rent of the venue only.
Of course.
Is it the responsibility of the venue owner? Or
yes, it's also the responsibility of the venue owner, because they are also part. They are stakeholders, and they are also part of all this arrangement. They are well informed about it, and they know that that is the standard to operate on.
So, coming from Omotosho's statement on social media on Saturday, this matter that government was going to get into it, this matter is well in hand, would you say?
Yes, it's not really a social media. It's a formal press statement that was issued by the state government, and that's what even the police authority to also move quickly into action with other corroborating agencies to make sure that this matter is seriously dealt with, and it serves as a deterrent for others who may want to join the bandwagon.
And most importantly, that that follows from what you just said.
Yes,
it never happens again.
Compromise public order and safety.
So no Lagos person should organize a party and begin to distribute fuel. And then the other news out of this is that if you're buying fuel in plastic kegs, actually you're infringing the law. So people need to begin to go and look for where they will get their metal jerry cans from. I don't know. There's going to be a run. There's going to be a run on metal jerry cans at all sorts of shops. So, but thank you very much for coming on, Mr. Amodu, Mr. Shakiru Amodu, Assistant Chief Fire Officer and Head Public Education, Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service.